Sasha, let's take a look at the board as it stands. We've got Capital Shopping Centres, Goldfield and Harmony, the only stocks in the top 40 trading higher. What do you make?
Well, Richemont's flat.
Well, Richemont is flat, but Richemont has sold off quite significantly. What do you make of today's news flow and the start of Q3, which of course looks dismal?
Yeah, another Monday, another worry about Greece, isn't it? Every Monday we come, it's kind of reminiscent of those days back in 08 where you wondered whether or not US Treasury had a plan to save the banking system. It's almost, what new plan do we have to save Greece?
And so one piece of bad news about the deficit sends markets into panic mode, but do you feel that they are moving towards a closer solution?
Well, nothing like a good old-fashioned crisis to crystallize your thought process, isn't it? Because the ultimate goal was an economic union of sorts. The problem is you have different treasuries, isn't it? So, you know, coming towards some sort of fiscal consolidation, and to be perfectly honest, why would the Germans want to see the Greeks go? Because, you know, weaker euro is quite good for their export part of their economy. So, I don't know, there's a lot of, I think the anxieties are probably because there's a lack of, or perceived lack of continuity with the process, because you've got all these separate votes that have to take place amongst the 17 member nations, and it's a drawn out process, and you've got politicians debating whether it's a good idea. And then in the end of it...
And all the while people, you know, the job market is still bad. People are battling to get jobs and they're thinking, well, where do I put my money? The stock market is not perhaps the best place at this point in time, but your views?
On the equity market specifically, I think they actually look quite cheap. But there's a lot of angst also from not only the retail investors who've pulled a lot of money this year from equity funds, but also the professionals. You know, when you see flash up, you know, XYZ famed fund manager John Paulson from 08 who predicted the housing market, he's down 30% this year. So it's not just the retail investors that are taking pain, it's the professionals, and they're the people who kind of, you know, backtracking, and obviously their bets, well, his one specifically on the financials in the US, have soured badly. So, I don't know, but if you look at current valuations, either the forward multiple on the S&P is suggested to be a little over 10 times earnings, which we haven't seen this for ages. This is suggesting that we're going to see a drawdown in earnings of anywhere between 20 to 30% next year to send it back to what would be considered all right valuations.
So when we come back to the local market here, I mean, as you say, a stock picker's market, an opportunity to pick up stocks on the cheap. Which stocks today look attractive to you at these levels? Well,
the same stocks that looked attractive to us over a longer term, because we're pretty much theme-based investors. So do we like the long-term trends that are happening not just in China but in India? Yes. Do I think industrialization is going to stop tomorrow? No. Do I think industrialization and urbanization is a theme that's going to take place over the next decade to decade and a half? Yes. So, you know, where is Billiton on this screen? It'll be one that we continue to be buying. Richemont is one that we like a lot.
Do you like the platinum miner? There's Billiton. Oh, there's Richemont.
There's Richemont, yes. Yeah. And Richemont is, if there's a longer dated graph, you'll see it's...
Do you have a target price? Because, of course, it's been sold off quite significantly.
Well, we were quite lucky to pick these up in March of 09, and we've ridden it all the way up. We've, in fact, been buying at higher levels than this, because our thesis on this one is it's an aspirational consumerism stock. So it's a company that sells luxury goods to an ever-growing middle class. Yeah. And although that sort of purchase might not be, you know, something that I'd undertake, I know there are a lot of people who used it as a I have arrived type purchase. You know, look at my watch. And some people, in fact, own multiple watches. For me, there's my cell phone. But that's a theme that we like over the coming years.
So the consumer is a big theme, and another company looking to tap into the growing middle class is Massmart. Aggressive plans there, as we know. 23 new stores in 8 months is what they're targeting. That's 3 stores a month. Massmart at 137 Rand 39 cents.
This is a stock we've actually owned since it was below 30 Rand a share. Although we did sell a few kind of post this Walmart thing, and we bought back into...
Can it still go higher? Because it's considered
absolutely. Look, I think the multiples, people balk at the multiples. But what are you comparing it to? Are you comparing it to the long-term averages on the JSE? Or are you comparing it to the likes of Walmart Mexico? I think that's more the fund manager in the US who's searching for yield, searching for better returns over the long term, say, hey, you know, we know Walmart, we trust Walmart well. They've partnered with this crowd. They're growing in the last frontier, Africa. we're going to be buying at these levels. So although we might bulk at 20 times earnings, you know, in a US context for an emerging market stock, it's probably all right.
It's factoring in, you know,
it's
those earnings
factoring
going
in a
forward.
lot of growth.
Let's talk
Absolutely.
about First Rand, a nasty shock there with the new Zambian president taking away or reversing their purchase of the national bank called a finance bank. That was a $5.4 million purchase. Now, this brings up the whole issue around what is their policy going forward with regards to foreign investors in Zambia.
Yeah, as you can see, I mean, not doing any worse than the rest of the market, and it's probably a small deal. I don't like government interference, particularly at a policy level, trying to undo or unpick deals. You know, if it was done untoward, maybe say, put it on hold, but don't just reverse it.
Does this set the tone for any other South African miners who could perhaps, you know, be wanting to invest in Zambia, are investors in Zambia, and would perhaps go over the border to places where legislation is not said to be as restrictive?
When you're saying over the border to the DRC, to the north, yeah, where perhaps it's a little bit wilder, but maybe more lucrative. I mean, ultimately, you need to be open and friendly to investors, and that way you'll attract long-term capital, because it's all very nice politicking at the edges, but in the long run, it's business that creates jobs, that lifts the levels of living, that you see more middle-class people, and ultimately wins you re-election. So, to my mind, be friendly to the investors. They'll create more jobs, lift your country up, and hence you'll be continuing.
Sasha, we've got to go. One last question. Non-farm payrolls data out of the US on Friday, and of course the Springbok game on Saturday. But in terms of the US non-farm payrolls data, are you expecting another bleak number, or could we see some positive signs from the US jobs market, given that weekly jobless claims number from last week?
Yeah, that's the number actually to watch more closely. If that continues to come in below 400,000, I don't think this month will make too much of a difference, but maybe next month will be a surprise on the upside. And the Springboks, who knows, but a classic clash against Australia, I think, will come through.
We will all look forward to that. Sasha Naryshkine, Director at Vestact, joining us in studio to unpack market dynamics today.